Hello everybody and welcome back to Why It Sucked, a show where I look at movies and why they suck. Mostly ones that I liked as a kid, but I also did Rogue One previously, so if you want to check that video out, you can. Anyway, as a child I really liked Pokemon, and yeah, I know I've said this about each topic I've touched on, but unlike Transformers, my love for Pokemon has never really gone away. I've been eating this shit up for nearly 20 years now, and as a kid I think I watched Pokemon the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, hundreds of times. So hearing about the new remake, I got excited but nervous. Maybe they would add to the story and make it better. But as I watched the Evolution version, I realized the movie is basically just a shot-for-shot remake of the original and really doesn't add anything to the story. To be honest, the first movie doesn't really do much right. There isn't much of a plot, it's just Mewtwo escapes, joins Giovanni, realizes he hates Giovanni, and holds a tournament to steal Pokemon and clone them. Then, Ash and friends show the true power of friendship, so Mewtwo gives up and leaves. The new Evolution remake is virtually a shot-for-shot remake of this film, just done worse. For one, the original movie may have had a pretty weak plot, but at least it has style. While the animation is cheap and not super fluid, the original art team at least added style. The lighting looked cool, the new designs like Mewtwo's Pokeballs and clone Pokemon look cool, at least it has style. But this film just remakes that in CGI, and it isn't great CGI at that. It looks kind of like Star Wars The Clone Wars when it comes to Pokemon models in the world, but when it comes to the human characters, they just look stiff and weird. And I think in CGI, a lot of the dynamic lighting the original had kinda gets lost. As I alluded to earlier, the plot is pretty flimsy and honestly feels more like a TV special than an actual movie. And honestly, if it was a special double-length episode and cut some filler, it wouldn't be that bad. But it says in the fucking title that this is a movie. Like, what can I say? It is pretty blatant. Not that the 3-act structure needs to be followed exactly, but this movie tries and fails to follow it. Act 1 takes place over 10 minutes. It starts with Mewtwo being made, joining Giovanni, deciding to hate Giovanni as well as all humans, then escaping. This all takes place before the title card shows, which feels bizarre, and this feels very rushed as well. This is one thing I hoped the remake would fix, but nope, it's pretty much beat for beat the same. Like, if they were gonna remake this already fairly flawed movie, why not expand this part of the film? I think if they made the first 10 minutes of this film into an hour, it would have worked really well. Rather, they still stuck with the old Mewtwo joins Giovanni, a montage happens, and Mewtwo hates humans now. It's just bizarre and rushed. Act 2 is about 30 minutes. It starts with Ash being introduced and being invited to Mewtwo's tournament, and goes until Mewtwo catches all the Pokemon in the tournament. This part basically rushes us to the climax. Act 3 is about 25 minutes. In the climax, Ash saves Pikachu and all the other Pokemon after they are already cloned. Then, the clones and the real Pokemon fight. Mew arrives and fights Mewtwo, and Ash is killed in the crossfire. This prompts all the Pokemon to realize the power of love, so they start crying and their tears revive Ash. Mewtwo learns the power of friendship, and so, him, Mew, and the clones fly away, and Ash and the other trainers forget this ever happened. While the plot is pretty cheesy and badly written, the movie is visually appealing, and as a child it made me really learn the value of friendship, so I guess there's that. I don't really have much more to complain about. Yeah, the movie isn't good, but it's not terrible, and it has a level of charm to it at least. The problem with the remake is that it keeps the shitty plot and removes all the charm. As I said, the CGI is pretty hit or miss, and the nice dynamic art direction becomes pretty soulless and bland. On top of that, a lot of the voice acting isn't quite on par. Brock, Misty, Ash, and Mewtwo are okay, I can get past it, but Jesse, James, and Meowth all sound awful. So you may be asking, if the new technology doesn't make it better in any way, then why was it made? And I can't answer that question for sure, but I have theories. 1. Generation 1 pandering has been a problem with Pokemon since the start, but over the last few years it's only gotten worse. Since the 3DS era, pretty much every Pokemon game basically gives you at least one of the Gen 1 starters, Mewtwo and or the legendary birds. Regional forms are pretty often just an excuse to make a new version of a Gen 1 Pokemon, not to mention Gigantamax and Mega forms. And on top of that, we got a second remake of Gen 1 through Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So I'm not really surprised they would try to capitalize on this movie, which was a huge piece of early Pokemania. And they knew both hardcore Pokemon fans and casual fans who liked Pokemon as a kid would eat this remake up. 2. For international releases and broadcasts of the film, Pokemon Company and Toho would have to share rights with Warner Brothers, who released the original in America, as well as 4Kids, who dubbed and owned the rights to Pokemon in the US. That is why when the show internationally started being produced in-house, the original voice actors were replaced. Granted, Warner Brothers still has rights within this film, but I think cutting out 4Kids and other dubbing companies probably was a major influence on why they would try to remake this movie with new voice actors. 3. In Japan, the film did pretty well at the box office, making $27 million, and in the US, Netflix bought exclusive rights, which I'm sure gave them both a big platform and a lot of money for the streaming rights. That is my theory on why they'd remake it, and I understand from a business perspective why they would do it. I honestly feel they could have expanded the content in the movie, make it 2 hours, add to Mewtwo's origin, add more stuff with Ash, and it would probably improve the plot of the film greatly. Pokémon as a franchise is the highest grossing franchise in history, beating out Hello Kitty by nearly $10 billion. It's also been around for about half as long, so it's stupid to assume they couldn't toss together a ground up rewrite with new content that actually improves the story. That way both versions would have a pretty decent reason to exist, the remake for a better story and the original for its style and nostalgia factor. Or even better than that, just make a new story set in the Gen 1 timeline. You can pull together an all-star team of classic Pokemon and bring back Ash, Misty, and Brock. It would probably still kill at the box office and on streaming. I feel like the remake and its style has potential, but they were lazy with it, and that's why it sucked and was unnecessary. Anyway, that's all I got. If you liked this video, I got a few more videos in this style that I've done, like my recent video on the first Michael Bay Transformers movie, which I think turned out pretty well and I'm proud of. Anyhow, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.